This will be for the Khan Academy assignment, solve triangles using the law of cosines. So just some notes before we begin. The formula for the law of cosines, it's almost the same as the Pythagorean theorem. It's going to be a squared plus b squared minus 2ab times the cosine of c equals c squared. Okay, so unlike the Pythagorean theorem, C does not have to be the longest side. And just like the law of cosines, the uppercase letters represent angle measurements and the lowercase letters represent side lengths. Now, when you have your triangle ABC, you want to remember that the lowercase letter is always across from the respective angle. So if now occasionally you'll see people write the law of cosines as three separate formulas, but really these are all the same formulas. As long as you remember that the respective side is across from the respective angle, then you'll be fine. So really, you don't necessarily need all three of these formulas, okay? So the way I do it, I always use this one formula right here. So that's how I'll be doing this exercise. And you only have to remember that the side length C is going to be across from the angle C. So on this triangle here, they want us to find BC and then round to the nearest tenth. So BC will be this side length right here, the distance from B to C. So we have our formula here. And the only modification we need to make to this triangle, we need to change point A. We need to change that to C, because that is the only angle that's given, and that has to follow the cosine function. This capital C represents the angle we're going to use, okay? So what I'm going to do here, and just temporarily, I'm going to change point A. I'm going to change that to a C, and then I can change point C to an A, all right? So like we said, lowercase a is the side length that's across from angle A. So going from angle A and going across, this side length here is going to be the lowercase a. So in place of a squared, that's going to be a 9 squared. And then lowercase b is going to be across from angle B. So if you go across from angle B, that is your lowercase b. So b squared is 12 squared minus 2 times a, which we said was 9, times b, which we said was 12, times the cosine of c. So c is the angle at vertex C. That's going to be 87 degrees. And that equals c squared. Okay. And now, really, it's all calculator work from here. Since we solved for c squared, we have this equal to c squared in order to solve for c. And I should have drew this on the diagram. Lowercase c is the side length across from angle C. Okay, that's the one we want. Since we have c squared here, the only thing left to do is take the square root of both sides. Okay, so I'm going to have to do this whole mess on the calculator and then just round to the nearest tenth. So here's the Google calculator. Okay, make sure right here that DEG is in boldface. That means it's set to degrees because we are working with degrees. Now you can do this all in one shot or two separate steps. Okay, I'm going to do two separate steps. So let's do 9 squared. 9. Let me see. Okay, I couldn't find x squared at first. So here's 9. Click inverse INV, and then you'll see the x squared. So it's going to be 9 squared plus 12 squared. Again, click inverse, and you'll have the x squared here. 9 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 9 times 12 times the cosine of 87. Okay, and you can close the parentheses right there. So you see right here, I have the same thing written under the square root. Click equals, and we're going to take the square root of that answer. This is the square root right here. ANS is the answer that we got. Close parentheses and click equals. And there you go. 14.61. They said nearest tenth. Since the second decimal is less than 5, we round it down. That's going to be 14.6. So that's our final answer. And just looking at the triangle, we have side lengths of 9 and 12. This looks like it would be about 14.6. So just click inside the box. 14.6. Okay, so now they want us to find the measure of angle B and round to the nearest degree. Here's our triangle. Okay, and once again, I'm going to have to rearrange some of the letters or vertices to match this formula. All right, the formula will always use only one angle. Okay, and like I said, since I wanted to use one formula, it's always going to be angle C. So now, since they wanted us to find angle B, I am going to relabel the vertex at B. I'm going to scratch that off and label it angle C. Okay, and then of course angle C will become angle B. All right, but we don't need to worry about that. Just angle C is all we're looking for. So as we said, across from angle A is going to be the side length, lowercase a. Across from angle B is going to be the side length, lowercase b. Across from angle C is going to be the side length, lowercase c. Now that we have everything labeled, it's pretty easy. You just plug in the numbers. So a squared is going to be 15 squared. B squared is going to be 8 squared minus 2 times lowercase a, which we said was 15, times lowercase b, which we said was 8, times the cosine of c. Okay, c is the angle we're looking for. And that equals c squared, so it's going to be a 10 squared. And now this step here, this part here, you can do it in as many steps as you like. Okay, I'm going to try to keep it condensed. First, we want to isolate cosine of c and then solve for c. So before I even get to the calculator, I'm going to subtract 15 squared and 8 squared from both sides of this equation. Okay, cancels here, cancels here. And then I'm going to divide both sides by this multiple right here. So I'm going to divide by -2 times 15 times 8. And divide this whole thing by -2 times 15 times 8. Okay, these are all multiplied, so these will all cancel on the left. And I'm left with a cosine of C, cosine of the angle C. And that equals this mess right here. 10 squared minus 15 squared minus 8 squared divided by -2 times 15 times 8. Okay, like I said, if you want to simplify some of these things first and then go through this process, that's perfectly fine. I'd rather just use the calculator once to avoid mistakes. And now the final step to get rid of cosine is to take the inverse cosine of both sides. So I want to take the inverse cosine of this right here, and then take the inverse cosine of this whole mess right here. Okay, on the left-hand side, the cosine and inverse cosine cancel, and we need the calculator for this part right here. So again, using our Google calculator, okay, you want to make sure DEG is highlighted, set to degrees. I'm going to do this first in parentheses and then take the inverse cosine of the answer. So 10 squared, I have to click INV to get x squared minus 15 squared minus 8 squared. Okay, that's my numerator. Click equals, and then take that answer and divide by parentheses -2 times 15 times 8. -2 times 15 times 8, close parentheses. Okay, right there. Click equals. And now this is the equivalent to the number in the parentheses. So I want to take the inverse cosine of that answer. Click INV for inverse cosine, and then click ANS for answer and close parentheses. So we're taking the arc cosine or inverse cosine of what we calculated here. Hit equals. Okay, they said round to the nearest degree. So 38.0 is just 38 degrees. All right, so we did this calculation and got 38 degrees. Looking at the diagram, it looks like the answer makes sense. So just click inside the box and type 38.